Greetings, this is your teacher, Professor Keener, with tips for writing about poetry. Specifically, I'll talk about some ways to integrate quotes into your poetry paper. First, let's recall some basic rules for integrating quotes. Always integrate a quote into a sentence of your own. Never let a quote stand alone as its own sentence. Rather, a quote should fit grammatically and logically into your own writing, into your own sentences. Also, use only as much of a quote as is necessary to prove your point. Here's an example of how to integrate quotes from the sample student essay in our textbook by Sarah Fong about Robert Frost's poem Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. See page 184 of our textbook, or read the slide. Second, we are told that this is the darkest evening of the year. This is one of the simplest ways to integrate a quote, to make it a part of your own sentence. Another way to integrate a quote is to introduce it with a colon. To do this correctly, you must write a complete sentence before the quote. What follows the colon, the quote itself, can be a word, a phrase, or a complete sentence. This is an effective strategy when you want to make a point in a sentence, then support that point with a quote. Here is an example of a quote introduced by a colon. For instance, the reader can emphasize especially appealing lines about the beauty of nature. The only other sound's the sweep of easy wind and downy flake, and the woods are lovely, dark, and deep. Notice how Sarah Fong makes a statement about the poem in a complete sentence, places a colon, then follows that statement with quotes from the poem. Another more unusual way, but highly effective, to integrate quotes into your writing is to include quotes in parentheses. To do this correctly, you should write your most important ideas in the main sentence. What appears in parentheses is support for your ideas. To check that your sentence is grammatically correct, imagine that you removed the parentheses. The sentence should still be correct. Here is an example of using parentheses in a sentence. The world at the beginning of the poem is a world of property. Who owns the woods and where the house is? But the world at the end of the poem is a world of unspecified and rather mysterious responsibilities. Quote, promises to keep, quote, miles to go before I sleep. Notice how Sarah Fong includes her main idea in the main sentence and uses the parentheses to include supporting information. A summary of the stanzas in the first parentheses and quotes from the poem in the second parentheses. This is a very effective way of helping the reader recall the poem while you comment on it. Finally, remember that quotes are vital to supporting your analysis. Quoting from the poem helps your reader remember the words, phrases, or lines from the poem as you analyze these. Quotes should serve a purpose. You should comment on the quotes and integrate quotes smoothly and logically into your analysis, whether you put the quotes directly into your sentence, use a colon, or include quotes in parentheses.